get back to Kaepernick and Smith. Now, you are from the outside looking in, and I am just, inside of this whole mess. Like I said, I have the 49ers fan page, so I am seeing everything from Kaepernick is going to take that offense to a new level to, well, Kaepernick is too young, he's going to make too many mistakes, and the defense is saving him, and thus Alex Smith is the right guy. And at this point, I think it's actually kind of funny because I would say maybe 2 years ago, you could barely find an Alex Smith fan. And last year, the 49ers as an organization, and I'll say the national media as well, did a really good job of making Alex Smith from, instead of a draft bust, they turned him into this sympathetic figure of a guy who had a different offensive coordinator every season. He was hurt. His coaches were throwing him under the bus. And now he has Coach Harbaugh, who is the perfect coach for him. And you have Coach Harbaugh talking about how great Alex Smith is, how he's their guy, how he wouldn't want any other quarterback in the league, even though he went and tried to take a look at Peyton Manning in the offseason, but we'll forget about that. And so Alex Smith has been turned into this sympathetic figure, and 49er fans have been saps for this story. And I will admit, I am one of them. I really like the guy, but I never really gave up on him. I always liked him. I always wanted him to do well. I didn't really have faith in him doing well. So last year, he has a reclamation project of a season, which you rarely see when a guy goes 6 years of nothing, or 5 years, I guess it was, and then he comes back and has one year and takes the team to the NFC Championship. It is a great story, and you root for that kind of guy because he sticks with the team and he re-signs even though he'd been through so many bad things, and he takes on this leadership role of the NFL's in the lockout, and he tries to get all of his all the players who he knows are coming back to the team, and they do sort of Camp Alex Smith at San Jose State University and all that. And yet I think what that has done is it has made the 49er fans so enamored with the story that they really can't see straight right now, because in 2.5 games, and I'll say, let's say 2 games, because the half game that Colin Kaepernick came in against the Rams, he was kind of thrown in there, and he didn't really play all that well. But the Chicago Bears game, and now this game going into New Orleans in the Superdome, with one of the louder crowds that you have, that you're going to be trying to combat as a visiting quarterback, he's basically won the 2 most important games for the team since opening day when they beat Green Bay, and we were super surprised at how well they played. They've beat some okay teams, but they've also, they also have beaten teams that we thought might be good, like your Bills, who we thought could be a playoff contender, and they're not quite there yet. They've beaten the Cardinals, who, started off the season so well and have come back to earth. They beat Seattle, who's a tough team, but still, they're only really 6-5. So this game against the Chicago Bears, coming into a Monday night Candlestick Park, I think a lot of people thought that even with Jason Campbell, the Bears would get the job done, and the 49ers smoked them. And so now you have this last weekend against New Orleans, and like I said, all the things going against them, and New Orleans is hot. They'd won 5 games in a row, and he goes in there, and he has a little bit of he takes some time to get used to that crowd noise and figure things out, but by the end of that game, he had outplayed Drew Brees. And, he's throwing balls on the money, and accuracy's out, is excellent, and if smoke comes off the ball, he throws it so hard. And, he really only made 2 mistakes that you could visually see on the television. And I don't understand how 49er fans can look at him and go, oh, well, Alex Smith is better. Like, we've seen Alex Smith for now 6 years or whatever it is, and I'm not sure I've seen him have the type of performances back-to-back that I saw Kaepernick have in his first two starts of his career.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a whole crazy mess. I think the way Kaepernick played yesterday, though, against New Orleans I think it just really shows, like, he's to me more of the future, I think, of what you guys need. And I would kind of use him still now. I mean, sure, he's a little inexperienced, but I think he's handled the pressure really well. I like his mobility more so than Smith. I mean, sure, Alex Smith in the playoffs last year against those same Saints had an amazing run into the end zone and against the Saints. I really like what Kaepernick can bring, though. I mean, he's got better wheels. His arm is really there, and he was just making strong plays to the big guys out there in terms of Manningham and crew like that. I really like him. I would feel sorry what happened to Alex Smith, but if Alex Smith's to leave San Francisco, I think it may be a blessing for him, because this is like you said at the top there, I mean, people had called him a bust and everything like that. And then, in the offseason, you guys have a fantastic year. And then the offseason, you guys consider to look at Peyton Manning. It's like, well, do you really want him to be your quarterback or not? I mean, you guys have the faith in him. So if he was to leave San Francisco, I think it could be the best for him. It was a nice little start, a way to welcome him to the NFL. But if him and the 49ers separate, I think it's good. It's going to be a place for him to have a fresh start and another team that could really use a quarterback, my Bills. That would be fantastic if he came there or anywhere that needs a quarterback. I think he's a perfect guy. He can definitely play in the league. You don't get to an NFC Championship game by accident, to quote Gorilla Monsoon. So I think Alex Smith, if he leaves, it's not a big thing. And I think San Francisco may have found, another belt notch in the proverbial belt for their offense.
And I don't want to beat this thing to death. I like I said, I like Alex Smith a lot. And I think there's something to be said about a guy who just perseveres, and I think that's the story. Like, that's what makes him such an attractive player to like, is that he had a lot of things go against him. And he didn't start his career the way that he probably wanted to. And he made a lot of mistakes, too. He was young. He was a little rebellious. He didn't want to take the heat for certain things. He feuded with two coaches, basically, Mike Nolan and Mike Singletary. And I'm not saying that it wasn't their fault. But, in those kind of situations, it's probably both of their fault, quarterback and head coach. And so I like that about him. I like that, he's just been like, hey, this is me, and I'm going to do my best. But when it comes to talent, and that's what this game is all about, it's who has the best talent on the field. Because if you have a great coach and you have the best talent, you have a great chance to get far in the NFL. If you don't have the talent and you have a great coach, you may be able to get to a certain level. But if you have a terrible coach and pretty good talent, you could probably, do some, you look at Andy Reid in Philadelphia, and it seems like he's held that team back a few years. But the Niners have the perfect mix right now of great head coach, great assistant coaches, awesome coordinators, and their team, you talked about their defense earlier. They really beat the hell out of the Saints in the second half of that game. And so if you have this perfect mix, what is missing? What is missing from this team that makes them a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Anybody who knows anything about football will say, well, maybe their weakest spot on the field is quarterback. And, I wrote this today. Maybe Alex Smith is at best a B. Can Colin Kaepernick be an A? Or can he be a B+? Can he be an improvement? If the answer is yes to Jim Harbaugh and that staff, I think you got to play him. Like, I don't know why you should sit there and accept, a B or a B- quarterback when you possibly have better. And it's a cold-blooded business, but there's the cliche that you root for the name on the front, not the name on the back. But I think that's really what it is. I haven't seen a guy like Colin Kaepernick create on that football field, dancing away from possible sacks, making something out of nothing. Like, I really think there were probably 6 or 7 plays that he made that Alex Smith would have either had to throw away or get sacked because he doesn't like
See,
throwing
that's the
dangerous
thing.
passes.
Like, I think that's why you need him. He's just so dynamic. Like, the only mistake I saw Kaepernick make is the one interception he threw where he just couldn't get a hold of the snap, and he misread where the cornerback was because he was too worried about picking up the football and not turning the ball over via a fumble or drop snap. I mean, that was fine. I mean, if anything, he should have used his wheels to pick up whatever yards he could. But other than that, I mean, he can make plays out of really nothing, as you're saying. I guess I'm going to finish your thought here, and I don't know if Smith can. I mean, Smith is a good quarterback, but I think it just seems as well that the team's more so rallied around Kaepernick, and rallying around a quarterback and having the team bond around your quarterback is so vital that just having a talented quarterback, and it doesn't seem like the team's 100% there. It seems like they're 100% there for Kaepernick. Like, Kaepernick turns the ball over and right back, the 49ers get a pick. I mean, that just to me seems like maybe they're a little bit more interested in having Colin Kaepernick be the starter of the team than Alex Smith.
Yeah, Harbaugh's going to have to manage that too. Alex Smith has guys who have been with him for a long time, like Vernon Davis and Frank Gore, who came in 1 year after Smith was drafted. And then you have guys like Joe Staley, who are really good friends with Smith, and they're getting asked point blank, who do you want in there? And even Vern said yesterday, he said he thinks Alex is a starter. Staley says, I'm more comfortable with Alex out there. So Harbaugh's got a lot of stuff to do, and I wrote one thing, to sort of end my column on Pop Blurred, which was, this is a very ballsy move by Harbaugh, taking the 5th highest rated quarterback who leads the NFL in completion percentage out of the lineup, and possibly bringing in a guy who may not reach those statistical accolades, but may simply be better for the team. And if it doesn't work, Harbaugh has got egg on his face, and he's got a long offseason to answer questions. But if it does work,
he's a genius.
You put him on the Mount Rushmore of 49er head coaches with Bill Walsh and George Seifert.